What happens if you eat 2 cloves a day for 7 days? The truth will shock you. 7 days. That is all I am asking you to consider right now. Not a month, not a year. 7 days of eating 2 small dried cloves every single day. Because what the research shows happens inside your body over the course of just 1 week of consistent clove consumption is genuinely one of the most surprising things I have come across in years of reading nutritional medicine literature. And I want to share it with you today, completely honestly. The real science, the real mechanisms, the real expectations, and the one important caution that I need every person watching this video to hear before they start. My name is Dr. Dylan. I am a physician with over a decade of clinical experience, and today I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens to your body, day by day, when you eat 2 cloves every day for 7 days. Some of what happens you will feel. Some of it is happening at a cellular level that you cannot feel, but that matters enormously for your long-term health. And by the time this video is over, you are going to understand why this tiny dried flower bud has been used as medicine for over 2,000 years across dozens of cultures, and why modern science is finally catching up to what traditional healers knew all along. Please stay with me until the end. Before we get into the day-by-day breakdown, I need to make sure you understand what is inside a clove that makes it so biologically active. We covered some of this in our last video about clove and coffee, but today I want to go deeper because the 7-day journey makes much more sense when you understand the specific compounds driving the changes. The primary compound is eugenol, making up 70 to 90% of clove essential oil. Eugenol is one of the most potent natural anti-inflammatory and antioxidant compounds found in any common food. It inhibits the COX-2 enzyme, the same enzyme that ibuprofen and aspirin inhibit, producing genuine anti-inflammatory effects through a pharmacologically validated mechanism. It is also one of the most powerful natural antimicrobials ever studied, with documented activity against bacteria, fungi, and certain viruses. Beyond eugenol, cloves contain beta-caryophyllene, a compound that activates the CB2 receptors of your endocannabinoid system, producing additional anti-inflammatory and analgesic effects through an entirely separate pathway. They contain acetyl-eugenol, which has antiplatelet effects that support cardiovascular health. They contain gallatannins and elagitannins, powerful polyphenols with antioxidant and anti-cancer properties. They contain significant manganese. 2 whole cloves provide approximately 30% of your daily manganese requirement, a mineral essential for bone formation, wound healing, and antioxidant enzyme function. They contain vitamin K, which supports both bone health and blood clotting, and they contain flavonoids, including kaempferol and quercetin, which have anti-inflammatory and cardiovascular protective properties. 2 cloves per day, an amount so small it barely registers as a dietary change, delivers a meaningful dose of all of these compounds. Here is what happens when you do it consistently for 7 days. Day 1. Within the first few hours of eating your 2 cloves, whether you chew them, add them to food, steep them in hot water, or swallow them whole, the eugenol begins to be absorbed through your digestive tract and enters your bloodstream. The first place where most people notice something is their digestive system. Eugenol is a potent carminative. It relaxes the smooth muscle of the gastrointestinal tract, reduces inflammation in the gut lining, and inhibits the growth of gas-producing bacteria in the intestines. Many people report within the first day that their digestion feels calmer, less bloating after meals, less gas, a reduction in the cramping or urgency that some people experience with certain foods. If you have been dealing with chronic mild digestive discomfort, the kind that you have been attributing to just getting older or having a sensitive stomach, you may notice an improvement as early as day 1. This is not imagination. This is eugenol's documented pharmacological action on gastrointestinal smooth muscle and gut flora. Your mouth also begins to benefit from day 1. Eugenol's powerful antimicrobial activity reduces the bacterial load in your oral cavity, supporting gum health and reducing the bacteria responsible for bad breath and early gum disease. Day 2 and day 3. By the 2nd and 3rd day, eugenol is beginning to accumulate in your tissues at measurable levels, because while the body metabolizes eugenol relatively efficiently, consistent daily intake begins to establish a baseline tissue concentration that produces more sustained effects than a single dose. The most significant thing happening in days 2 and 3 is the beginning of a meaningful shift in your systemic inflammatory state. Eugenol is inhibiting COX-2 and lipoxygenase enzymes throughout your body, reducing the production of pro-inflammatory prostaglandins and leukotrienes that drive the chronic low-grade inflammation that underlies so many diseases of aging. You may begin to notice on day 2 or day 3 that your joints feel slightly less stiff in the morning, that a chronic mild achiness you have been carrying begins to soften at the edges, that you feel slightly more comfortable moving through your first hour of the day. These are subtle changes, not dramatic pain relief, but a genuine reduction in baseline inflammatory tone that compounds as the week continues. Your blood sugar regulation is also beginning to benefit by day 2 and 3. Multiple clinical studies have shown that Clove compounds improve insulin sensitivity, making your cells more responsive to insulin's glucose-clearing signal. After 2 to 3 days of consistent intake, many people with borderline blood sugar begin to see modest improvements in their fasting glucose readings. The mechanism involves eugenol's ability to enhance insulin receptor signaling and to inhibit certain digestive enzymes that slow carbohydrate breakdown, both effects working together to produce a smoother blood sugar response throughout the day, day 4 and day 5. By the midpoint of the week, something interesting begins to happen with your antioxidant defenses. Eugenol and the other polyphenols in cloves are not just direct antioxidants themselves. They also upregulate your body's own antioxidant enzyme systems. Specifically, they activate the NRF2 pathway, a master regulator of cellular antioxidant defense that switches on the production of glutathione, superoxide, dismutase, catalase, and other endogenous antioxidants that protect every cell in your body from oxidative damage. By days 4 and 5, this upregulation is in full effect. Your cells are producing more of their own protective antioxidant enzymes in response to the signal from Clove compounds. Some people begin to notice changes in their energy levels around this point in the week, a slightly improved sense of vitality and mental clarity that reflects the reduction in oxidative stress at the cellular level. Your liver is also responding by days 4 and 5. The hepatoprotective properties of eugenol are actively protecting your liver cells from oxidative damage and supporting the liver's detoxification enzyme systems. For people who have been consuming alcohol regularly or who have other sources of liver stress, the protective effects of Clove's eugenol are particularly meaningful during this window. Additionally, the antimicrobial effects of consistent eugenol intake are producing changes in your gut microbiome by days 4 and 5, selectively reducing certain harmful bacterial populations, while research suggests a beneficial bacteria are relatively resistant to eugenol's antimicrobial activity at dietary doses. A healthier gut microbiome means better nutrient absorption, reduced gut-derived inflammation, and improved immune function, day 6 and day 7. By the end of the week, the cumulative anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and metabolic effects of consistent Clove consumption are most fully expressed. People who complete 7 consistent days of eating 2 cloves daily most commonly report several specific changes. Their joint stiffness and minor joint pain is noticeably reduced, not eliminated if they have significant arthritis, but meaningfully diminished from their baseline. Their digestion is more comfortable and regular than it was at the start of the week. Their morning breath is improved, a consistent finding that reflects the sustained antimicrobial effect on oral bacteria. Many people report sleeping more comfortably by day 6 and 7, likely because the reduction in systemic inflammation and the analgesic properties of eugenol reduce the low-level discomfort that was subtly disrupting sleep quality, and people who were monitoring their blood sugar during the week often see their most improved readings in days 6 and 7 as the insulin-sensitizing effects of consistent Clove consumption reach their fullest expression at this dose. But here is what I want you to understand about the 7-day window, and this is the part that the title of this video is really pointing toward. The most significant changes happening over this week are not the ones you can feel. They are happening at a molecular level that is invisible from the outside, but that is laying the foundation for long-term health protection. The reduction in inflammatory cytokine production that has been building all week is not just making your joints feel better. It is reducing the inflammatory drive behind cardiovascular plaque formation, behind insulin resistance, behind the neuroinflammation that contributes to cognitive decline. The upregulation of antioxidant enzyme systems that peaked in days 4 through 7 is not just making you feel more energetic, it is reducing the oxidative DNA damage that accumulates in cells over decades, and that drives cancer development. The improvement in insulin sensitivity is not just producing better blood sugar readings, it is reducing the glycation damage to blood vessel walls that drives atherosclerosis. 7 days of 2 cloves is not a cure for anything, but it is 7 days of meaningful biological support for the processes that determine how healthily you age over the long term. Now, I want to address the practical question of how to eat 2 cloves per day in a way that is pleasant and sustainable. Whole cloves are intensely flavored, and most people find chewing them directly quite strong, though it is entirely possible and is actually how cloves have been used as a digestive aid in traditional medicine for centuries. If you prefer a more palatable approach, there are several excellent options. Adding 1 clove to your morning coffee and 1 to an afternoon tea is one of the most common and pleasant methods. You get the dose without the intensity of chewing. Grinding cloves into a fine powder and adding a small amount to oatmeal, yogurt, or a smoothie is another excellent approach. Ground cloves disperse their flavor more broadly and are less intense per bite. Adding whole or ground cloves to savory dishes, soups, stews, rice dishes, roasted vegetables, delivers the dose in a context where the flavor is welcome and complementary. And steeping 2 cloves in hot water for 5 to 10 minutes to make a simple clove tea, perhaps with a cinnamon stick and a slice of ginger, produces a warming, pleasant, medicinal beverage with a long history of traditional use. I want to be completely honest with you about the safety considerations before I close. Eugenol at the dose delivered by 2 cloves per day is safe for the vast majority of healthy adults. However, there are important exceptions. If you take blood-thinning medications, warfarin, aspirin therapy, clopidogrel, or newer anticoagulants, please discuss with your doctor before starting regular clove consumption, because eugenol has mild antiplatelet and anticoagulant properties that could amplify your medication's effect. If you have a known clove allergy, avoid this entirely. If you are pregnant, culinary use of cloves is generally considered safe, but daily medicinal doses should be discussed with your obstetrician. And I want to be very clear about one absolute rule. Do not substitute clove essential oil for whole cloves. Clove essential oil contains eugenol at a concentration that is toxic when consumed internally. Whole dried culinary cloves only. 2 cloves per day is a culinary dose. It is the amount that would naturally appear in many traditional recipes, and it is safe within that context. It is not a pharmaceutical intervention, and it is not a substitute for prescribed medications or medical care. But as a simple, inexpensive, evidence-informed daily habit, it represents one of the most accessible food-based health practices you can adopt starting today. I am Dr. Dillon. Thank you for watching Healthy After 60. Try 2 cloves a day for 7 days and come back and tell me in the comments what you noticed. I read every single response. Hit the like button, subscribe, share this with someone who needs it, and I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourself. Your health is built one small daily choice at a time. Before I close, I want to give you one more piece of genuinely useful information, and that is what to expect if you continue beyond 7 days, because 7 days is the beginning of the story, not the end. The benefits I described over the first week, the digestive improvement, the joint comfort, the blood sugar modulation, the oral health benefits, these continue to develop and deepen with consistent daily use. Research on clove consumption and inflammatory markers has shown that the most significant reductions in C-reactive protein, the blood marker most commonly used to measure systemic inflammation, appear after 4 to 8 weeks of consistent intake rather than after 7 days. So if you do the 7-day trial and notice modest improvements, know that the more meaningful long-term changes in your inflammatory status, your cardiovascular risk markers, and your blood sugar regulation are still building. The liver protective effects of eugenol compound over weeks and months of consistent use. The gut microbiome shifts that begin in the first week continue to develop over the following weeks as the microbial community adapts to the regular presence of eugenol. And the antioxidant enzyme upregulation that peaks in days 4 through 7 establishes a new baseline that is maintained with continued daily intake. The one caution about long-term use, beyond the medication interactions I already mentioned, is that some research suggests very high doses of eugenol over very long periods could potentially affect liver function in susceptible individuals. 2 cloves per day is well within the safe range for long-term use in healthy adults. But as with any regular addition to your health routine, it is worth mentioning to your doctor at your next visit so they are aware of everything you are doing to support your health. I am Dr. Dillon. 7 days, 2 cloves. Start tomorrow morning. I will see you in the next video.